Hi, welcome to Girls Talk on NJ Digital. This is Harjeet. I'm your host for today. We're going to be talking to Seema, who is an award-winning realtor. She does some things in the community too, but what I want to focus on the most is that she's a travel enthusiast, which is what a lot of us do. So thanks, Seema, for being on the show with us today.
Thank you so much, Harjeet. Thank you, NJ Digital TV, for having me here. It's an absolute pleasure.
Well, it's our pleasure to have you on the show. Before we get nitty-gritty and deep into the travel piece, I'd like to talk a little bit about the other things that you do and introduce yourself to people. So if you could tell us about being a realtor and what it means to you and why you picked that career.
Sure. So I moved to Canada in 2008, and in 2008 I started to study for my real estate license. One of the biggest reasons was that I was a realtor in England as well prior to coming here, so I had a fair experience. I have to say they're two completely different markets. So I got into that field mostly because of the portability of the business. It is very interesting. It is something that you can do anytime, and of course I have a passion for it.
And it also allows you to travel. If you can be portable with your work, you can travel whenever you like, right?
Absolutely, it really does. And that was, I think, a very important factor for me, because I still have connections in the UK. So traveling back to the UK was always on the cards. So it was important to have a business that actually allows me to do that all the time.
I really love that. Before I go into talking about what you've done for the community, what you're involved in, I want to actually talk a little bit more about being a realtor. But this is what drew me to you, to have you as a guest on my show too. There's just an honesty, there's an aura about you that is so calm and comforting. Oh. And I know that you have a story about when you became a realtor, and I would love for you to share that and have everybody get to know you a little bit better.
Thank you. It is an awfully special memory, I'd say, because it was my very first open house ever. And there was a gentleman there who quietly stood in the corner watching me. And as I finished, he asked me to come by and see his home and value it for him, for the view of, with the view of actually listing his home. So as he was leaving, he said to me, "You can come by, have a look at my home, but you know what? I'm not going to let you see the upper floor, because my wife isn't really well today, and she's got a terrible migraine, and you're not going to be able to see the upper floor." And I remember joking with him and saying, "That's not a problem. I'll come see the upper floor today and your basement, and I'll value only half your home today. The other half I'll value when I see the other half of the home." I didn't think much of what I'd said, but when I did get the listing later that evening, he did end up showing me the whole house. I did meet his wife, and one of the things that he said to me, along with a wad of cards that he brought to me, was that he really liked my honesty. He hadn't met realtors who hadn't, grabbed the opportunity to just take on a listing, and he really liked the fact that I was honest. And I said, "You know what? No rush. Take your time. I'm not really going to, kill you or come after you to give me the listing. I'm really about seeing your house and giving you a true value based on the whole house." So it was a pleasant story. I remember him saying that it was my honesty that he chose me for, and I've really never lost sight of that. I've never lost sight of that.
Well, it makes you it makes you feel good that you're recognized for something that you didn't even feel you were being recognized for, or was even a quality that needs to be recognized, because it's just normal to you, right?
It is.
But for me, it's one of the things that I wanted to have you on the show. Even though we're going to be talking about travel, it's just, I want that advice to come from somebody who has the ability to help others, just because that's what they want to do. So yeah, so I like that story, and I wanted you to share that, because then it also ties in, like, you do a few things for the community, which I wanted to kind of get some information on. Party in the Park is one of them, and the other one is a spring bazaar. If you could talk about the two and what they involve.
Absolutely. So the community that I moved to, like I said, I've been living in Canada since 2008. We moved to a completely new neighborhood in 2011. And as I moved there, I remember door knocking all my neighbors and saying, "What do you do? And who are you? And, this is who I am." Not with a view for business, but to actually get to know people. And it was received really warmly. I felt that there was a want for people to meet and mingle. And from that, I did, because we celebrate Diwali, I got all our neighbors, those that don't celebrate Diwali as well, out on the streets to celebrate Diwali that year of 2011, all together out in the neighborhood with their fireworks and whatnot, and chai and samosas and everything going on. From that, I really understood there was a dire need for, people to actually just connect. The neighborhood was growing from strength to strength, more new people moving in, and so the following year I actually conceived the idea of Party in the Park, which was basically a party meant for the community and to bring everybody together, and it was a huge success, and I've run it for 4 years on the trot. 1 year had to take a miss because I had some personal things going on, but
that's in Toronto?
That is very much in the neighborhood of Brampton, and it was really well received. In fact, I would go down the street and people would go, Seema, when are you doing Party in the Park? Or little kids running up to me saying, and when is Party in the Park this year? We had a huge response. Like the first and the second year, we had as many as 600 people. The mayor of Brampton then had actually come to the event as well. We had Peel Police supporting the event. We had, the Brampton Fire Department come in. It was just phenomenal. It was just activity at its max, and the neighbors loved it because it was just a walk away. It was in the local park off the neighborhood where I live. So it was just fantastic. And from that, it just went on to strength from strength. I very shortly got into becoming the chairperson of the local school where my children studied then. And I did a fundraising campaign for them, which was basically called a Spring Bazaar. And that Spring Bazaar was basically connecting entrepreneurs, small business owners, and bringing them to the forefront. And that was also really well received. Other than that, I've done lots of other community exercises like cleanups. A lot of people would frown and say, cleaning your neighborhood? Like, why would you do that? Doesn't the city do that? Well, the neighborhood was still very new, boulder debris about, and I just put on a pair of gloves, got off an old black bag, and just started putting things in. And as more and more people noticed, they wanted to come forward and help. And it was absolutely phenomenal because we had like hundreds and hundreds of bags of garbage that we collected in no time. And that's the power of community, that's the power.
It definitely is. And
Yes.
I think it's really important that you shared that with us too, because once we talk about everything else, everybody's going to be wanting to meet you. So at least they know there are initiatives they can get involved in and connect with you on that level. So that's a really good thing. But now let's go on to travel, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
So you're a realtor. I'm curious to know, was your love of traveling one of the reasons that you picked being a realtor, or did that have no bearing on the fact that it's a mobile, portable business?
I think it's fair to say that this was an intrinsic reason for me choosing real estate as my long-term career, because my ties with England remain, and I do travel. Of course, I'm originally from India, so traveling to India is also on the cards every now and again. So it was important to be in a business that you can take with you in a suitcase and, in your phone. So that was definitely important, but also from the fact that I had previous knowledge and a die-hard passion for it.
That's amazing. So let me ask you this then. Say if you were given the opportunity to be a travel journalist or have a career that involved travel, would you give up being a realtor, or would you do both, or would you just not even consider it at all and keep traveling as a hobby?
I really don't think I could put real estate on the back burner. We do put it on the back burner every now and again, things take priority. But I think this is, it's in my blood. I really love what I do. But if I had to take on a career as a travel journalist, I think I'd do it fair justice, and I would love doing it, and I would probably do both concomitantly.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. A lot of people wouldn't know how to do that, but I'm glad that you said that, because I think I would be excited to read what you have to write about all the destinations you've been to, which we know you did kind of just mention. You lived in England, you now live in Canada, and you were born in India. Mm-hmm. So those are 3 places that resonate with you. Are there any other places that you have called home for some time?
Not particularly home, but places that I would like to spend more of my time in. that works for my entire family. So we had a recent trip to Europe, of which my favorite destinations, and I'd been there before, and I still fell in love with it again. You know, it was like new love, is Rome in Italy, which is it's a beautiful destination. We totally love it. Definitely would like to spend more time there.
Okay, that's great. But so you've been there in Europe. Where else have you been?
Oh gosh.
In general, not just Europe, everywhere.
I've been to many places. I've obviously seen many different states of the United States of America. I know it's not very popular to talk about that right now, but of course, I've been within Canada, I've been to Vancouver, Edmonton, so I really like it. I've been to Banff, which is a wonderful destination. I would definitely write about it as a journalist. It's definitely must see. Other than that, I've been to Spain. I've also been to Germany. I've been to Switzerland. So my list is a long one. I could, a man who hasn't traveled hasn't lived. So I think travel should be an integral part of life. It shouldn't be I don't think it should be very packaged into something. That's my belief system anyway. I think it should be very ad hoc and very impromptu. That's our lifestyle. That's the way that we like to travel, is to really pick bags and go. But certainly there are certain destinations that we would definitely like to hit and going on in the future.
So just talking about what you just said about travel being an integral part of us as existing itself, I just want to know your take on, say if there's somebody who never had the opportunity to travel, would you advise them that they should travel, go see some more of the world because it opens their eyes up? Or how would you invite them to travel when they've never done it and say they're in their adult years?
I would encourage that from the point of view that a book can tell you a lot, and they say, if you've read books, you've traveled, you're as good as traveled. But soaking up the real-time, down-low atmosphere of the place that you're in really ingrains in you something completely different. The enthusiasm that you'll share with somebody that has traveled the same destination is completely different to just reading about it. I ardently watch all travel shows. I really like how, they give you the down-low on that local neighborhood. Say Morocco definitely is, hot on my list. I'd really like to do that one time. But I want to feel and soak up the local, feel and the air and the beauty. I don't want to read about it in a book. So for anybody who hasn't traveled, all I can say is do it.
That's definitely encouraged me to want to do it. I'll write that on my list and maybe book a flight. But back to what you just said, you like to feel the local life. So I'm guessing a resort is not for you because it's very enclosed. Is that right? And tell me if you were going to go to a beach, if you've been to a beach, would you pick a beach over a city?
I'm definitely a fan of city life. Again, the sights, the sounds, hearing the horns blare in a car or, hear a train just go by, seeing a plane fly overhead. Those things are important to me because that includes the sight and sound of a place for me. Being enclosed in a beach scenario is okay, I think, for a limited time, but I don't think that would, that would entail the entire holiday for me. I couldn't just, drink and worship the sun. I couldn't do that. But then everybody's different. I'm not saying it's a good or a bad thing. For me personally, it's important to actually get about and really, if there's a mode of transport that I haven't experienced before, if there's a rickshaw that I want to go on, I want to get on it and I actually get the feel rather than just hear about it or see it on a television set. As far as resorts are concerned, again, I don't negate them. I don't think they're good or bad, but I certainly think that it may be good if your children, especially if you're with children, may be good to be in an enclosure or in a sort of a destination place which gives you the inner beauty or created beauty, as I call it, about excerpts about a country or a lifestyle of a country. But you're still enclosed. You're not really feeling, and most of the people in a resort are coming from different countries. So you're not really getting the sights and sounds of that place. For me then, it is then important to actually go out and about.
So back to Morocco, that's one of the countries that you want to visit. What exactly is it about Morocco that you're so drawn to?
There is a certain enigma, and again, it's enigma that I've heard about, enigma that I've read about or seen about on television. There's an all-time charm associated with that place that I really want to experience. I have also had some friends go, and you know, as a good friend always recommends a good movie, they do always recommend a good destination as well. So for me, it's important to experience that with my own eyes, and you know, get my children to understand it, because I think they are learning a lot. Being to different destinations in the world, they're seeing the world with very different set of eyes, and really understanding the world for its real-time enigma and charm.
I really love that. I want to talk to you more about that right after we come back.
रंग वाली भरम वाली न्यूज वाले व्यूज वाले मेल वाले कराची वाले खैबर वाले लाहौर वाले पिंडी वाले इन शॉट पूरे पाकिस्तान वाले चिली मिली के हमत वाले कैंडीलैंड चिली मिली।
मैं हूं जहांगीर खान, स्क्वाश कोर्ट का चैंपियन, लेकिन रियल एस्टेट इन्वेस्टमेंट का चैंपियन मोहम्मद कामरान हुसैन। मुझे उन पर यकीन है, आप भी करके देखिए।
जहांगीर खान और हजारों क्लाइंट्स का चहेता मोहम्मद कामरान हुसैन। रेजिडेंशियल प्रॉपर्टीज और इन्वेस्टमेंट्स दोनों के लिए ही सही मशवरा, सही फैसला। मकान जिसे आप अपना घर कहने में फख्र महसूस करेंगे। मोहम्मद कामरान हुसैन, 4163185264।
So welcome back to Girls Talk. I'm your host, Harjeet Dhillon, and we left off with Seema, who was talking about travel. Hey, Seema.
Hi.
So we were talking about Morocco, and what invited you to Morocco. So talking on that topic, if you wanted to travel somewhere, what are the inviting factors for you to want to go there? Is weather anything to do with where you want to go?
Weather is a very, very important part. But I think with the active lifestyles that we lead these days, I think time is the most imperative of all. To really know how much time you have to expend in a certain place is an important factor. At least for me, it has always been. To see the main sites and, you know, places to visit in that particular destination. So it would be important to actually cherry pick the best of what you think may be of interest to you and to your family. So that's something, that's how, sort of, that's been our most important gauge for deciding on destinations to go. So it's got to have a little bit of everything, a flavor of sights and sounds, and it's got to have a flavor of good food, and it's got to have flavor of fairly decent weather. Of course, you can't predict it most of the time. And, you know, shopping. I mean, which woman doesn't like to shop? So that's an important part as well.
So definitely time is important. You want to ensure that you can see the whole country in the little or lot of time that you have. So you also said that you're more of a spontaneous traveler. What does that entail? I mean, are you thinking of a destination the whole time until you book and literally leave, or do you just decide at the last minute, this is where you want to go, and book your ticket, and then you don't have any time to plan even? You know where you're going at the last minute.
As a parent, most people would know that it's hard to take liberty of when you're traveling. So sometimes when you get a little window of time in which you can travel, it's actually good to travel spontaneously, because I think you don't get too het up about I absolutely have to go see this place in this place. You can be spontaneous and actually understand the place that you're visiting with a more direct viewpoint, and really get into everything about that particular place in a short amount of time. If it's too planned, this is my feeling anyway, if it's too planned and you're not able to keep to that plan for any which reason, then you can be disheartened. So for us, traveling Rome, for example, and a few other countries in Europe this year was, this year gone, I should say, last year, was spontaneous travel. It was about, you know, cherry picking a few destinations to go to, and then, you know, weaving into that thread of travel a few other things that were, you know, sort of literally interspersed with the rest of our travel plan. So it is really good, I think, to be spontaneous, if you can afford that, because it could be expensive to be spontaneous sometimes. But for us, we've been very lucky with, you know, with the digital age and all the Facebook conundrums that you have available to you in terms of travel options, and travel websites that you have, and hotels, hotel websites that are, you know, cheap and cheerful. There are so many different options that you have that you really, I don't think you get burnt out in terms of money or time, because you can just be still as spontaneous.
I like that answer. You know, and one thing I want to touch upon is that you're talking about traveling as a family a lot, which is, my guess is that you travel a lot as a family.
Yes.
So if you could give me some advice, and any to our viewers too, about traveling as a family versus traveling alone, and what you have to take into consideration, and how you handle multiple personalities when you all have different agendas when you go on holiday.
Mm-hmm. And I think the answer is in your question, is to not have a long drawn agenda, is the agenda. To really actually enjoy everyday flavors of a place for what it's worth, and to gravitate naturally to the places that most people are going to. For example, when we were in Rome, and I've been to Rome before, so it's not as if I didn't know what's there to see, but there are certain sites, for example, Fontana dei Trevi, which is in the heart of Rome, is a beautiful fountain. It's like a public area, but it's this beautiful fountain in which you throw coins, and rumor has it that you go back there. So you must go to Rome and throw that coin in that fountain. And I did years ago, and I went back. So for me and my children, it was almost like the charisma of it all. The fact that, you know, Mummy, we're going back there, and you said you'd thrown a coin, so, you know, it's important. And now my daughter's thrown a coin, and lo and behold, coming up this April, she's going on a school trip to Rome. So, you know, I don't know if this myth or if it's just, you know, hearsay, whatever it is. I think it's really good to not have a long drawn agenda. This is for us. This is what works for us.
I like that. It sounds much more fun to travel as a family than alone, because you get the feel and you see how traveling impacts different people on different levels, and you get to teach each other about what you want to see and where you want to go. So you said that you like spontaneous as a whole. So now planning is kind of scary for me. When you get to your destination, do you have any idea of what there is to see? And then once you get back, do you ever feel like you never got to see the whole country or the whole city?
I think that feeling is very rare, because one of the most integral parts, and I haven't done that so much all over the places that I've been to, but have done that in the States, did that all the way from Canada going to Calgary, did that all the way in Europe, is, you know, to actually hire a car. It's the best thing you can do, because you can stop when you like. You can most of the time pick hotels where you like, the places that you are of your choice, and just, you know, just take a break. It doesn't have to be, like I said, a long drawn systematic approach. So, but there have been times where you feel there's more you could have done in a day, or there's other places you could see, but that's just the very thing. That's exactly what I'm trying to say, is if you set out to see something and you're not able to, it leaves you something more to do the next time you're there, or perhaps the next day, that you can actually plan out an event for the next day to actually go see that place. But you'll never, I don't think you'll ever see a country wholly, ever. There's just, the world has become a small place because we can travel so easily. But I think it's, you know, every little nook and cranny in a country has something to say. And I don't think you'll ever in your lifetime be able to see all of that. For example, we were driving down the streets of France, and then we took a turn into a road which looked pretty enigmatic, and, you know, you're curious to see what's in there, and we go in there, and it's a whole new world. You know, there was a pottery place going on, there was a little restaurant, and for the most part we would have just driven by it. So to experience that 1 hour in that place was just ecstatic. It was just beautiful.
So traveling, when you travel, do you have any dream destinations that you want to visit? And on the same topic, if you want to talk about it all at once, any places that you definitely don't want to go?
Oh my God, I almost know that by heart. But one of the places I absolutely have to go to in this lifetime is Egypt. I definitely want to see the pyramids for myself. The sarcophagus, I can't even say it, but you know, it's interesting you should even ask that, because when we go to the history museums and stuff in Europe and show our children all the different things that they're learning in textbooks, and then they go to see it, and then they see the real life version of something, it'll be just a moment of truth, I think. That's something that's important to us to do. So Egypt, top of my list. Cruise on the Nile definitely is important to me. I really want to feel, you know, glorious, like, I don't know, the queens of the past. And one of the other things that I'd like to say is that, again, it's important to not get too hung up on particular destinations. I mean, I hope that in this lifetime I'll be able to go, but if I don't, then I'll, you know, do close enough. Other parts of Africa, there's so many different places in Africa that that you can see and actually soak up those beautiful places. I hear Kenya is beautiful. You know, I have clients from there that tell me all about it. Tanzania, so many different places that you can see and really get into your life and soak it up. One of the places that I haven't got top of my list is certainly bottom of my list. I wouldn't knock the Australians, but I do not think I want to go to the Down Under anytime soon, and mostly because of the creepy crawlies.
I'm the same way. I had this dream that I want to go to Australia. I want to go to Australia. As soon as I learned that the spiders are almost bigger than humans, I just changed my mind. It's a no-no for me. Yeah. So we're going to wrap up the show shortly, but before we do, I would like to see if there's any advice you could give our viewers on being a spontaneous packer. What essential items should we take with us when we pack, and how should we pack?
I think one of the most important things when you're traveling spontaneously is sleep comfort. So, you know, you will most likely get 5-star hotels or 4-star hotels wherever, whichever destinations you're going to. But should there be a time, and there always will be, when you're more tired than you think you are and you need a little rest, then to, you know, to have blankets if the destination's a cold one that you're going to, or it gets cooler in the evenings. You need to obviously have some travel medication with you, just minor, you know, headache pills or fever pills or whatnot, and pillows by plenty, because, you know, they go around the car if you're traveling by car. If you're traveling by plane, I don't know if you want to take your earplugs with you, or you know, different gadgets and whatnot. But simplistic for the most part. Travel light, because you've got less to carry with you and more to see. If you're carrying tons of stuff with you all the time, it's just not as enjoyable. And I think top of the list is water. You know, make sure you've got plenty of supplies of water, because you're going to be needing that when you're you know, out and about doing your bit in traveling. One thing that I learned with some of my experiences is, if it's important for you to share with the world or your group of friends where you are and where your destination is, it's important to have a fully loaded battery or battery supplies for your phone, because that, you know, with all this digital age and with all this data being consumed rapidly, your battery tends to get extinct very quickly. So you really want to be all keyed up and geared up on that.
I like that answer. I hope you guys were taking notes when you travel. And I like that Seema didn't say that we need a bikini and we need sandals and we need, you know, all these things that I was thinking. These are the necessities of traveling. Water, I definitely understand where that's coming from, because it's not the same water that we're accustomed to. Anyway, back to Seema. It was such a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you so much, Harjeet. It's been a pleasure. And I hope to maybe bump into you on my cruise on the Nile, or perhaps in Morocco one day.
Definitely. Thanks for watching Harjeet on Girls Talk. You can tune in on Tuesdays at 9 to watch us again.